All right, let me get a mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2. All right, this is your boy, the old ball coach, live from our PHFL studios right outside of Washington, D.C., with another exciting episode of This Week in the PHFL. We're going to go through our season one, just a quick recap of Kansas City's dominating win over the Green Bay Packers. Man, this PHFL season two off season, man, is off to a banging start. We're already pretty much 1.5 weeks in. We got some new coaches in the building. So we definitely want to give a shout out to our new coaches in the PHFL. Man, the trades are going literally ballistic. So far, everybody is being traded. Nobody is safe. So we're going to take a look at a couple of trades that could, again, ultimately change the course of the PHFL landscape. Again, we had a lot of trades, and we're going to go through a couple of those. We're going to take a look at week one recap, and also a couple of week two action as well. So let's get into, again, Kansas City. They dominated the
Old champion Kansas City
and
Chiefs.
again,
They are
let's
your
give the
champions.
Chief their flowers.
Jordan Love
You know
walks
what I
off the
mean?
field right
They
now,
they again,
disappointed. They're
they
pointing
came with a, again, an outstanding victory,
the
over the
Super Bowl
Chiefs.
champion, PHFL Bowl
Again, they
champion Kansas
dominated
City Chiefs.
the
They
the
are
regular
your
season.
champions. Jordan
Pretty
Love walks
much
off the
they
field right
dominated
now, disappointed. They're pointing to their
the
rings.
playoffs.
Coach
There
Twitch
wasn't
now is a
I
champion.
don't want to call it
Again, you
like
got the Gatorade
there
bath on
wasn't a
Coach
lot of
Twitch.
competition, but
The Kansas
in the
City Chiefs are
playoffs,
your
the
PHFL
Kansas
Bowl
City
champion.
Chiefs
Again, I'm going to call it
their
I don't want to call it a great game. It was definitely a
literally
very
kind of
compelling game. Again, it was
right
35-32.
now,
A lot of things were
they
going right.
are
It's just the
to
Packers could
be,
not get that needed
the
stop. And again, the
PHFL. I
Kansas
mean,
City Chiefs,
it's
Patty
Kansas
Mahomes has
City's,
proven again that, listen, you
league
give
right
Coach
now.
Twitch this type of
Coach
talent,
Twitch and Patty
and
Mahomes are literally on
it's going to be a
a
problem.
And
So
different
again,
again,
level, and
Jordan
it's
Love
going to be
missed.
up to the
Uh,
it's going to be up to the rest of the league to catch up to the Kansas City Chiefs. Like, what can the remainder of the league, what can they do in order to catch up with Kansas City? Again, there has been a lot of trades again in the PHFL. Some top tier teams in the PHFL have made changes and have made some strategic draft choice. So again, you're going to look at that and say, hey, listen, what teams right now are close to Kansas City, and what teams right now, after their trades, who have closed the gap. Again, the Lions have made a big addition, to their quarterback room. Is that enough? Again, what about the Falcons? They added a game breaking running back. So again, what about the Falcons? Can they get to the Super Bowl? And again, if it wasn't for an injury to Penix and just arguably one of the most just craziest endings to a game, could they have knocked off Coach Twitch? And again, their game, in the in the regular season, it was a one score game. So maybe again the trade that they made, again, is that going to make a difference, in their locker room? So again, a lot of things, are right now have started in the PHFL. When it comes to, season number two. Again, we had a great game with the Cowboys versus the Jets. Again, great comeback, by the Cowboys. It almost appears like every time, we do our highlights that, the Cowboys, again, are the team that, is front and center, of.
And here's a big one now. Try to hold this lead. They're going to go for it here on fourth down.
$1 billion playpen. So it's 4th and 1. This is literally the play of the game. If the Jets get this first down, the game is over. Now, I don't know if I like the fact that the Jets decided to throw the football instead of running the football, because you do have Breece Hall. And if you look at, again, if we go through and look at, Breece Hall's.
They snap it to Fields. And he's brought down. Can't do anything with the football. It's a sack.
Again, you got to look at Micah. Micah comes off, gets away from that tackle, and that's a sack. And that there is the play of the game, and that put, again, the Cowboys in position, to get the victory. Again, let's go through and look at the play again.
And here's a big one now. Try to hold this lead. They're going to go for it here on fourth down.
So you literally have left tackle superstar against Micah Parsons. I'm not sure, just from a talent perspective. And let's go through real quick. Let me go through and let me look at, that left tackle who is going up against Micah, because again, you're talking about, one of the best players at that position, going up against, again, definitely, a talented left tackle, and that is Ola Fanshaw. So again, but he's an 80 overall. He's a superstar, without question. But looking at his abilities right now, he's a puppy. He got an 82 pass block. So he's not ready to take on that type of one-on-one, blocking assignment against arguably the best pass rusher in the PHFL, in the name of Micah Parsons. Again, the rookie, or the young fella, is going to definitely, he's going to be a great left tackle. But Micah Parsons right now, a 97 finesse move, a 89 pass, a power move. He got 93 awareness, and of course 91 speed. So when Micah, again, when he's able to get
they snap it to Fields.
Justin Fields,
and he's brought down. Can't do anything with the football.
21. Again,
now on
Green Bay, the Cowboys with the ball. Now, this is one of the plays I was a little confused about, right? So right now it's 24-20, it's 24-21, Dallas with the ball. Coach Shifty is renowned for man v. man. It's 2nd and 13. Again, they're right. I mean, again, they got a franchise kicker. So again, not necessarily saying a 55-yarder is out of his range. Again, it probably still would have been a layup, but I would have liked to see, Coach Shifty stick with his guns, on this play. But he comes into a zone, and again, he's playing underneath with Adams. Again, looking at this, and
now
again,
Prescott.
2nd and 13, just a quick route.
Open man right side, it's Lamb.
Nothing
The
crazy.
Cowboys going to use their second
Got themselves
timeout
into
now.
field goal range, and again, they tied up the score to make it 24-24. Now we go into overtime, and again, you get the ball into the hands of your best player. You get the ball again into your hands of your best player. Dak Prescott put CeeDee Lamb
Running the jet
in
sweep
motion.
as Prescott bats it forward.
And literally goes untouched.
Fighting his way through contact. And he's into
The Cowboys knock off the Jets 30-24. And again, one of the better games in week number 2, of the PHFL. So again, that's the type of content, That's the type of excitement that you're going to get in the PHFL. Again, just a competitive game. The Cowboys were up front, were leading 24-13. The Jets rather were leading 24-13, and they just stuck with their guns. They didn't deviate, from their game plan, and they were able to again come out, with the victory over the over the New York Jets. Now, one of the things that have been, this has been a huge talking point in the PHFL, especially this season, is the amount of trades that have happened thus far. And I think, honestly, this particular trade is the trade that I believe really just opened up, the floodgates and just said, okay, you know what? Everybody now has to, everybody has to make their team better. And that is the Atlanta Falcons and the Miami Dolphins. This is, we don't want to call it a baffling trade, maybe mind-boggling at the most. And again, you can see the committee and, who said yes and who said no. There was a lot of the league office had appeals coming from certain coaches and ownership, crying about the democratic, trade process that has been fair, that has been, unbiased, that is strictly have been, it's bipartisan. And we had coaches that literally were beating down the commissioner's door. Bijan Robinson, again, this same thing happened with Ron St. Brown last year. Had a big game one, and I think, again, the Dolphins needed to prove the mettle and the merit of the trade. Fast forward to the second week or game number 2, and Bijan Robinson, 15 carries for 50 yards. In a 63-33 smacking by the hands of the New England Patriots. Again, you look at A-Chain, and A-Chain, again, with the 96 speed and everything that comes with that type of talent, that literally just opened up the floodgates. The Detroit Lions finally was able to obtain their franchise quarterback. Again, not sure we understand the trade, but J.J. McCarthy and Ty Chandler are now Detroit Lions, and Jahmyr Gibbs is now with the Minnesota Vikings. The Lions, they were in the league office. They put together, they called him, they said robbery. I agree, robbery, and bruh man from the 5th floor, I get it. BG, he smiles, he got the military background, he comes in with the military, with that code and that creed, and Steve, sometimes Steve, maybe he didn't get I know Steve probably buys some coochie, so maybe money was a little light, that week, and he just couldn't, be able to, find one of the ladies of the evening that could fit his budget at that time, and was a little bit off his game because I just don't understand that particular trade. Then you fast forward to this one again. You trade within the division. I'm just not sure. And then you look at Minnesota, and then you ask yourself, who is going to be the quarterback of the Minnesota Vikings? And right now, they have the Green Bay Packers as their game in week number 2. And if you look at the Minnesota Vikings depth chart, their quarterbacks, again, it looks like it's going to be Sam Howell. How is the Vikings going to compete in this division against the Lions and Green Bay? Is there something that we don't know? Last year they didn't have a stellar rushing attack. Last year, I believe they had Aaron Jones last year. So I'm just not sure. When you look at the Vikings, and you specifically look at that trade, if you can point to a winner, if you do point to a winner, rather, it has to be the Lions. So the Lions have been searching and turning over every rock to get a franchise quarterback, and right now they have their franchise quarterback. So you can't, again, they've made the trade to be able to get J.J. McCarthy, and we have to look at it and see what happens. The Denver Broncos, they made a trade for Josh Jacobs. The fans they're ready to run the kid, the old boy out of town. They're 0-2. That right now the sun is not shining. It looks bleak. So the Broncos now, you don't want to call it an air of desperation. However, they did lose their franchise running back for 5 weeks with an injury. They made trades for 2 running backs. So we're going to see how, that plays out. Let's look at Coach BG again with another trade. I mean, this guy here, man, he's looking to remake again. Now he has Christian Wilkins, 85 overall for a 4th and 5th round pick. Let's look at Wilkins. He's an 85 overall. He has a 90 strength, 86 awareness, 86 block shed. So again, 88 play recognition. So again, this is a guy that's gonna, he's gonna play up to his capabilities, and this is a good trade, for the value, that the Falcons gave up, in order to acquire, a talent that can help them, with a potential, Super Bowl run again. We look at Tampa Bay and Carolina again. It's kind of a low end trade, but again, J.C. Horn is going to Tampa Bay for Takei Smith and Zion McCollum. I kind of like J.C. Horn. I believe he's one of the top paid cornerbacks in the league. A 92 speed, 81 awareness, has 86 play rec with 88 man and 86 zones. So not sure, what Carolina was thinking about when they made this trade. Again, maybe it could have been something with contractually that it wasn't looking to pay him. But again, I'm not 100% sure if that trade kind of made, the Panthers, better. But again, we definitely will wait and see, and again, just kind of look at it, overall once the season gets to maybe, week number 5 and week number 6, so we can really discuss the impact of some of these trades. Green Bay and the Falcons. Again, the Falcons are just looking to, and this I believe was the Jair Alexander. Sure, I don't understand. I don't understand. Jair, again, 92 overall, 90 awareness, 87 play rec, 95 man and 95 zone. Fire the committee. Hey, listen, Coach Twitch, man, I may have to kind of start the petition, because I don't. Again, maybe from a contractual perspective, that Green Bay says, hey, listen, you know what, we can't utilize a 92 or a 92 overall savant in the back end, and they went with a mere speed, again, who's a 67 overall. So I don't know whether or not Green Bay's loss to Kansas City, again, they were going for the undefeated record. Did they get, just thrown off their kilter by that loss? And right now they're being more reactive, when maybe, again, staying pat and just kind of run it back could have been more of the prudent, direction. But again, it was a 35-32 game. So again, I know the score, kind of got out of hand in the fourth quarter. So again, we have to definitely take a look at Green Bay's, schedule as we go along and throughout the season, and see whether or not some of these trades are gonna pan out, with some positive fruit. So in Week 1 action, the Kansas City Chiefs are defending PHFL champions, knocked off the Eagles 56-28. The Dolphins knocked off the Ravens 41-3. The Detroit Lions defeated the Washington Commanders 38-23, and with Jared Goff more than likely, or Hooker more than likely, will be on the trading block for those teams. The Seattle Seahawks, again, they're looking to move a big piece. They had some conversation with, with a couple of teams, about some high visible talent. And right now, again, things are still within that preliminary stage. But again, the Cowboys knocked off the Seattle Seahawks 34-31. And from our Green Bay, Twitter feed, they're saying Jair, they called him dog shit, and he's gonna find out soon enough. And coach, the Kansas City Twitter feed is saying that he just couldn't guard, Rashid Rice. But again, I don't know whether or not you have to look at the player or you look at the scheme. I don't know, or it could be a combination of both. But again, you will definitely see, what Jair looks like in Coach BG's scheme. And Coach Twitch of the Kansas City Chiefs has said, BG is out here robbing dudes. He loves it. And again, I think, again, I'm not sure what it is about, BG. Could be that Southern draw. He is from, the ATL. So I don't know what it is. But again, he's acquiring a lot of talent in season number 2. Elsewhere in Week 1, the Panthers got their first win of the season. The Raiders knocked off the LA Chargers 41-35. The Vikings over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 48-24. Let's see if Sam Howell, did he get any? I don't think he got any reps in this game. I'm not sure whether or not. No, he didn't. 31 for 45, 438 yards and 5 touchdowns. So you're getting rid of that type of performance. So again, we definitely want to see, what Sam Howell can do under Coach Balling. But again, they did knock off the Buccaneers 48-24. The Giants embarrassed the Broncos 59-24. The Cardinals over the Saints 20-17. And again, this is another great game in Week 1. The Jets were able to hold off the Browns 42-38. We got our new user with the Houston Texans over our new user with the Tennessee Titans 62-24. Now, again, the Texans user, let's take a look at, let me see what some of the coaches are thinking about this trade. Okay, C.J. Stroud, 26 for 35, 479, 3 touchdowns. Jeremiah Love, 19 for 106. I believe that's the kid from Notre Dame. I believe that's him. Brevin Jordan, 7 for 137. Higgins, 7 for 126. Nico, who was definitely in trade discussion, 4 for 113. Now, the Houston Texans are looking to make a trade, and right now it's literally coming down the home stretch. So the Houston Texans are looking to send Danielle Hunter and Christian Harris and a second-round pick to the Chargers for Ladd McConkey. I don't like this trade. I don't like this trade. That is too much. I think, in my opinion, that is now maybe again because I've seen what Chris Harris can ultimately turn into, or Christian Harris. I think that's a little bit too much to give up. Let's see what White Boy Roy. Let's look at his stats. Okay, so McConkey, again, 92 overall. Okay, didn't know that the White Boy got that speed like that. Okay, 93 catch, 90 catch in traffic, 91 short, 91 mid, and 92 deep. Again, I mean, let me know what you think, Coach Twitch. You got Coach Twitch in the chat. Coach Mar, is this a? Again, you got Nico. You got a lot of I don't say you got a lot of talent. I think you have enough talent with he says a fair trade. Okay, says a fair trade. Says a fair trade. So again, Daniil Hunter, again, you're talking about he's 31. However, still a superstar. Again, let's look at his abilities. Again, speedster and extra credit. I'm assuming we'll probably get those updated. Again, he has a 88 speed, 94 awareness, 93 finesse move, 84 power move. Again, although he has enough receivers, yes, I don't know the point though. I mean, again, you're talking about a championship coach and say, listen, they have enough talent from a wide receiver perspective. Again, you only have one football, so I'm not sure how you're going to be able to distribute those. But again, the Texans did come out with a Week 1 victory over the Houston Texans. Again, shout out to our Texans coach. Shout out to our Tennessee coach. Again, we got two newbies that are in the fold for the PHFL. The Bengals knocked off the Colts 24-21. The Buffalo Bills knocked off the Patriots 38-24. Again, this was a good game. The Rams, Mr. Anderson, he was the former coach of the Rams, got a lucrative deal to go over to the NFC North, and he competed 42-35 over the defending NFC champion Green Bay Packers. So again, definitely a good competitive game, and we definitely going to look forward to the Bears and Mr. Anderson and kind of see what Coach Anderson does over in the uber competitive NFC North. The Falcons crushed the Jaguars 58-9, and we got our new Rams user. So again, they came out with a victory over the Steelers 24-23. Now into week number 2, a couple of games, or more than a couple of games, have been completed. I believe the Lions knocked off the Ravens. We have the Bills and the Eagles upcoming. The Chiefs knocked off the Colts 56-24. We got the Chargers and the Jaguars upcoming. The Broncos fall to 0-2, and the Raiders, the surprising Raiders, moved to 2-0 with their 30-24 victory. Not sure about Coach Center. Not sure what Coach Center is. Hopefully, Coach Center and the West Coast Mob joins back up into the fold. We got Houston Texans against San Francisco upcoming. And our big game, Green Bay against Minnesota. Sam Howell, the 5th-round draft pick from North Carolina, is now he's going to be leading the attack for the Minnesota Vikings. Again, this is going to be a very interesting matchup. So again, we're definitely going to be having our eyes glued into that game. And again, the game that we already provided highlights, the Dallas Cowboys again knocked off the Jets 30-24. This game here was a close game. I'm not sure on the rematch what happened, but the Giants moved to 2-0 on the season, knocking off the Commanders 59-7. This can't be right. So something had to have happened. I'm not sure. Again, Coach TDG, if you're out there, man, give me a holler, man. Let me know what happened, man. Was this actually the game that was played, or was this a sim? Because I believe it was like 14-7 or 14-14, and now you get to 59-7. I'm not sure. But again, the Giants knocked off the Commanders. Let's see. Who else do we have here? Again, the Patriots demolished the Dolphins 63-33. The Bijan Robinson experience now is pretty much over. So again, the Patriots come out with the victory. Atlanta knocked off Tampa Bay 58-27. We just saw that the Carolina Panthers knocked off the Rams earlier this afternoon. And then we have the Bears and the Bengals. In week number 3, we got a couple of interesting matchups. A couple of teams definitely need a win. We have the Texans against the Chiefs. Man, the Super Bowl champion against our newbie. We want to see, again, what the coach of the Texans is going to do against our reigning PHFL champions. The winless Broncos against the Dolphins. Again, the Broncos need a win bad. The Commanders against the Chargers. That should be a very interesting matchup. We got the undefeated Raiders at 2-0 against the Titans. Again, he's a diehard Titans fan. So again, that's definitely should be a very interesting matchup as well. The Eagles and the Packers. This right here, the Lions and the Giants are going to be must-see. Again, that's going to be must-see. The Giants, again, definitely have a good defense. Jackson Dart, again, X Factor, is one of the better young quarterbacks in the league. Again, that should be a great game. Tampa Bay and Carolina have been nip and tuck both of their games, splitting their matchup last season. So, again, that should be a very interesting matchup. And Coach Marr is definitely going to have to get his revenge on Coach Schiff. It's not going to continue. He's getting blown out, game after game after game after freaking game. So, again, we think that, Coach Marr, again, it's tough, especially with the style of defense that the Jets employ, especially with Sauce Gardner pretty much, locking up one side of the field. But, again, that should be definitely an interesting matchup with two coaches that are familiar with one another. The Rams and the Colts. We also have the Bills and the Browns. And we have the Bears and the Cowboys into week number 3. So week number 3 this week in the PHFL, we're going to unveil our week 3 power rankings. Again, who are the top 8 teams in the PHFL? We'll go through some PHFL highlights. We'll look at, again, if any teams are 0-3, we're going to look at it and see who's on the hot seat. Again, what changes could be made. If there's any other trades, there are trades galore. There's some trades that are pending. There are big-name players that are on the block, so we'll see whether or not, again, are there any other trades that may go through by the time we get to airtime in week number 3 of the PHFL. So, again, this is how we go. So for the newbies, we roll out our PHFL This Week in the PHFL podcast every day, roughly around the same time. Normally on the weekends, we try to do a Good Morning PHFL depending on games that are being played. But again, this is what we do in the best community out in the Madden atmosphere. So this is your boy, the old ball coach, signing out right outside of Washington, D.C., where the weather is 77 degrees and sunny blue skies. This is your boy, the old ball coach, signing out. Peace.